Hello, Minnesota Vikings fans and NFL lovers. Today we have two pieces of news that are driving NFL fans crazy. Stay until the end of the video and you will be surprised. And leave your like, because this news is very good. Also leave your comment about what you think of this Vikings signing. Now let's go to today's news. Vikings are considered strong candidates to sign Titans quarterback Will Levis for $9 million. Eyeing strategic alternative to J.J. McCarthy. After securing J.J. McCarthy in the first round of the 2024 draft, the Minnesota Vikings appear to have finally found their bet for the future at the most important position in American football. But as every fan knows, Plan A doesn't always work out as expected, especially when it comes to a young quarterback with no NFL experience yet. And that's why the Vikings are looking for a worthy Plan B. Currently, McCarthy's only backup on the roster is Brett Rypien, a name that, although competent, does not inspire much confidence for a team with real ambitions of going far in 2025, especially after the impressive 14-3 campaign last year. With veterans like Aaron Rodgers gone, Minnesota now has a mission to balance youth and experience in its quarterback group. It is in this context that a new possibility arises. Will Levis, current quarterback of the Tennessee Titans, is being considered as a potential target for the Vikings. According to ATOS sports analyst Easton Freeze, Minnesota should be considered a strong candidate to trade for Levis, a move that could significantly alter the team's outlook. I'm including the Vikings in the strong candidates category because, while I think a trade will be pursued by the Titans before draft weekend, I certainly wouldn't rule out a trade ultimately being finalized by the end of the summer, Freeze said. For him, the fit between Levis and the Vikings goes beyond roster needs. It involves style of play, organizational culture, and even coach Kevin O'Connell's recent history with quarterbacks seeking redemption. Levis, who arrived in the NFL, surrounded by expectations, had ups and downs in his rookie season. Initially, he appeared to be the natural successor to Ryan Tannehill, showing arm strength, pocket presence, and flashes of leadership. However, in 2024, his performance dropped. Turnovers, bad decisions, and a certain emotional instability put his continuity as the Titans' starter in doubt, and the landscape in Tennessee has also changed dramatically. With the first overall pick in the 2025 draft in hand, it looks like the Titans will select Miami's Cam Ward, opening up space for a possible departure for Levis. According to experts, he could be traded for a day 3 pick, a relatively low cost for a franchise like the Vikings, which is looking for depth and potential at the position. But why would Levis in Minnesota make so much sense? For starters, Kevin O'Connell's offensive system values quarterbacks with good reads and athletic ability. Exactly the profile Levis displayed early in his career. Additionally, O'Connell has proven himself capable of turning around discredited players, as he did with Sam Darnold, who had an unexpected resurgence in 2024. Another important point, Levis would have a much more talented cast around him in Minnesota. Offensive weapons like Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and T.J. Hawkinson, coupled with a more solid offensive line, would create the ideal environment for him to once again showcase the talent that put him on the NFL radar. While McCarthy remains a mystery, he didn't play a single snap in his rookie season. The Vikings can't afford to rely on promise alone. It's the kind of situation where a reinforcement like Levis not only provides security, but also keeps title ambitions alive. If Minnesota truly wants to compete at a high level, adding Will Levis to the roster isn't just an option, it's a strategic move. Aaron Rodgers to the Vikings? Hiring forecast sparks heated debate in Minnesota. The NFL offseason always brings with it its fair share of drama, speculation, and twists and turns. And in 2025, the spotlight once again turns to the Minnesota Vikings. For the second year in a row, the franchise finds itself at a crossroads at the quarterback position. But this time, the controversy is even bigger. What if Aaron Rodgers, yes, him, wore purple and gold? After years as the face of the Packers, and a brief but turbulent stint with the New York Jets, the future Hall of Famer is now being speculated as a possible Vikings reinforcement. And it's not just a rumor behind the scenes. The prediction came from Alex K. from Bleacher Report, who named Rodgers as one of the favorites to take over the starting role in Minnesota. But before we talk about the future, let's recap the recent past. In 2024, the Vikings made a bold decision by not re-signing Kirk Cousins, who was recovering from a ruptured Achilles tendon. In his place, they opted for a two-pronged plan. They brought in Sam Darnold to temporarily take over the position and used the 10th pick in the draft to select J.J. McCarthy, a promising quarterback and the face of the future franchise. McCarthy's meniscus injury paved the way for Darnold, who stunned the football world with an inspiring campaign. He led the Vikings to an impressive 14-game winning streak, reigniting debates about his true potential in the league. However, when the 2025 offseason arrived, the team once again made a bold decision, not to re-sign Darnold, signaling that the future, at least in theory, is in McCarthy's hands. But then he came along. Aaron Rodgers. Rodgers in Minnesota? An unlikely, but intriguing, marriage for many. The idea of Rodgers returning to the NFC North, now on the rival side, seems straight out of a Hollywood script. The four-time MVP quarterback, known for both his talent and his controversies, could find his old form in a robust offensive system with a solid line and weapons like Justin Jefferson and T.J. Hawkinson at his disposal. And let's face it, Rodgers would have no shortage of motivation to show his worth against his former team, the Packers, twice a year. The plot would be simply unmissable. Kay argues that, with his experience and knowledge of the game, Rodgers would have an advantage over McCarthy in a potential position dispute. In purely technical terms, it is not an absurd thesis, but does that make sense? Despite the initial fascination, the reality is more complicated. Rodgers would be unlikely to accept a modest veteran contract. He wants to be the protagonist, and well paid for it. For the Vikings, who are clearly trying to build around more affordable contracts, like McCarthy's, that would represent a steep cost, both financial and strategic. Plus, there's the whole package that comes with Rodgers. Controversial interviews, controversial remarks on the Pat McAfee show, and constant media attention. Does a young, focused locker room like the Vikings need that kind of distraction? And there is one crucial point. McCarthy, using a top 10 draft pick and leaving the kid on the bench for 2 consecutive years, would be a waste at best. At worst, a serious planning error. Bringing in Rodgers now would be a surefire way to undermine the young quarterback's confidence before he can even prove anything. The timing just doesn't add up. Aaron Rodgers' Vikings prediction may have generated headlines and fantasies among NFL fans, but when you dig deeper, the scenario seems more like off-season speculation than a realistic play. Can Rodgers still play at a high level? Probably. But the Vikings are in a different phase, focused on the future, on young talent, and on a long-term project. And in that context, Rodgers seems more like a detour than a shortcut to success. If Minnesota wants to move forward, it might be best to leave the past, however brilliant it may have been, where it belongs.